Francesca.
I'm Victoria.
I'm Laura.
And welcome to Novel Nights. Hello everyone, welcome to Novel Nights, and we want to be the first to welcome you and also wish you happy 2025.
Yes.
Okay. Happy New Year, everyone. Listen, I am tripping because this is a pre-recording, okay? It's still, the past where we are. But anyways, want to wish you a happy New Year, happy 2025. Today, we're going to be talking all about reading goals, how to track your reading, share some fun reading challenges, and all the good stuff to get you ready for the new year. So if you want to read more books this year, if you want to be more mindful, intentional, but also have fun and gamify your reading experience, we're going to help you do that and more in today's episode. But before we get into it, how are things, Francesca?
Things are good. I am excited for 2025. I mean, I know that I shouldn't get too excited because things have been a little shaky. But I think 2025 is going to be a good year. I'm not going to set any intentions or any big goals. I'm just going to go with the flow. It's the year of letting go. I'm excited for that.
What about you, Laura?
2025 is a year of freedom because I'm getting a car. As someone who's been carless for 20 years and in a city that you need a car, it's a huge deal. So it's happening in a couple of weeks. I'm very excited for it. So.
Listen, living in Florida without a car is rough. So this is long overdue, my friend. I think I'm going to steal Francesca's intention of letting go. Okay. I like to obsess over details, getting things right, setting big goals and ambitions. But I am telling you, I am letting go this year, which is very unlike me. But guess what? We're just going to have to go with the flow. And you know what? I'm going to encourage you all to go with the flow as well. So let's get into today's episode. Like I said, I'm going to be starting things off and talking about, how to read more books in 2025. So my thing is, odds are if you're watching this, if you're familiar with any of us, that means you're a reader, you've been reading for some time, great. If you are new to reading, I have a whole separate video on my channel for beginners. So if you haven't read a book in years, if you probably only read 1 or 2 books, which by the way, congratulations if you did. But if you want to kind of amp that up, I have a separate video for beginners. What I'm going to be talking about is how to read more for people who are currently reading, but for people who are busy. Because I know what it feels like to feel like you don't have enough time, but I have found practical ways to do all the things, right? I'm taking care of home, I'm taking care of work, I'm taking care of creating content, and I'm still reading. So even though you're busy, you can find the time. The first tip I'm going to recommend is that you have to make reading a part of your routine. I truly believe reading doesn't have to be a huge time commitment. Once upon a time, I used to feel you had to have this big chunk of time to lounge on your couch and read. But no, that isn't the thing. I think it's more about consistency. And I also believe starting small and building. So maybe start reading for 10 minutes, 15 minutes before bed. Then you up it 20 minutes and so on. So I think little bits of time add up over time. You could maybe do a page count. So maybe if the time isn't your thing, like the 10, 15-minute thing, how about reading 10 pages? That's a start. Again, once you get going, like anything, you exercise that muscle, it becomes habit over time. The next thing I want to recommend, tip 2, is always carry a book with you. I never leave the house without a book. There's a book in my bag. There's a book in the car. There's a book on my work desk, on the couch, nightstand. Listen, there are books everywhere. So I think it's very important to always have a book. Now, if you don't want to carry physical books, carry your Kindle. If you don't have a Kindle, you're more an audiobook person, carry your phone. So whatever it is, a big trick is never leave home without some form of reading material. So physical book, ebook on your phone or your Kindle or your tablet or audiobook, just have something going, right? Because you could be reading, listening, or reading physically when you're in line somewhere. If you're commuting and you're not the driver, perfect time to read. If you are the driver, audiobooks come in handy. Pickup lines. I don't know how many of us spend so much time in pickup lines at school. Trust me, that works as well. Doctor's appointments, they never start on time. Always carry a book. The next thing is create a reading list that excites you. I know we share recommendations here on the channel during our live show every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, okay? We share lots of recommendations, but at the end of the day, I feel like nothing kills momentum when you are not reading what you want to read. So create a reading list that excites you. When we're sharing a book and you're like, oh, that sounds interesting, write that down. Keep that list going so when you do need something, you have something. Also, again, library books. You don't have to be buying all the books, but library books, audiobooks. I live on Libby, and my friend Laura, she is like the Libby queen, the ebook queen, Kindle queen. She'll tell you about those apps, not just today, but in future episodes as well. So keep a TBR that really excites you. Create something that you want to read, not what everyone else is telling you to read. Find your favorite format. Again, sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's ebook, sometimes it's audio. It's good to mix it up. Again, just listen to yourself. Maybe you're just audio only. That's fine. Ebook only, that's fine. Whatever works for you. If you're a mix and match girly like me, go for it. And then the last tip I want to say is join a book club, join a reading community, subscribe to our channels. I'm not just saying it from a content creator point of view of, we want you to join our community or we want you to join our book club. It's not about just that element for us as content creators. But the reality is the more you surround yourself with readers and books and you hear what they're reading or what they're doing, it can encourage you to read. You pop up and you share in the comments and you say, oh, this is what we were reading. It gets us excited because, oh my gosh, we haven't read that yet, or we did read it, and we start getting into, nerding out about the book. I think it's really important to just surround yourself with readers. I think it's helpful. Pop in at your local library, pop into a bookstore sometimes. You don't have to be buying something all the time, but it's good to just kind of be inspired and do some of the bookish things. I'll also have a separate video if you're currently going through a slump, because I know that happens even to the best readers like myself. It happens, but I have separate content on that as well. So I hope those tips will help you to read more. If you take nothing away, just do what you want to do on your own time. Trust me, your future self and your reading self will thank you for it. Before I hop off, I do want to share, I have some reading challenges. So if you want to gamify things a bit, if you want to start small, then I recommend going with the winter reading challenge. Okay. This is like very easy peasy. There are 3 prompts. So it's not like incredibly overwhelming. So prompt 1 is read a book with a snowy or winter setting. Prompt 2 is read a book that feels cozy and comforting. And cozy and comforting is unique to each individual, right? For me, cozy and comforting is rereading books I've read before, reading classics. That's comforting for me. And then prompt 3 is read a mystery or thriller set in a small town. If you're looking for book recommendations, I also have a separate video. You'll find all the links in the video's description for the winter reading challenge, so you can learn more details, but also get book recommendations. And I have some readers sharing their recommendations in the comments already, so you can get recommendations from them as well. And if you're watching, leave your recommendations too. Now, the Winter Reading Challenge is from December 2024 through to February 2025, so 3 months. So if you're joining us in January, that's okay. You have 2 more months to read 3 books. If you're a voracious reader, just times the prompt by, instead of 1 book, by 2, 3, you can just go up as much as you'd like. Now, if you want an annual commitment, that's also good too. I have an annual reading challenge. So this is a prompt a month. So overall, there are 12 prompts. So maybe I should make this one a little bigger. Let's see about doing that. There we go. Okay, so you can see the prompts a bit better. So January, read a book with new in the title. February, pick a book featuring an unusual friendship. March, read a book with a floral cover or a nature theme. April, explore a book set in a place you'd like to visit. May, a book that won a notable award. June, a book by a debut author. July, a book with a journey or a road trip. August, a translated book. September, a book recommended by a librarian. October, a spooky or atmospheric mystery. And November, read a memoir or a biography. And in December, enjoy a classic or a book that's published over 50 years ago. So again, these are prompts just to kind of inspire you. Pick or choose as you see fit. I'll have a separate video sharing book recommendations as we go along throughout the year. But again, if you want a short challenge, winter's for you. If you want a long-term commitment, choose the annual reading challenge. I hope you guys feel inspired by the book recommendations. If you are a new book person, so if you love new books, check out the Winter Reading Guide. It's exclusively available on Substack. These have 24 new books in 7 categories. These are books that came out late December, January, and February for the winter season. I also have the short list with a list of all the books I read for the guide that I read and loved. You'll also find books like recommendations in there as well. So maybe you don't want the new books. You can, read the books like recommendations, or you can use that to determine if the new book is for you. So yeah, those are my tips. Those are the challenges. And I hope you all have a great reading year and get inspired to start. What do you guys think?
Always carry a book with you, whether audiobook, an ebook, your phone, anything. Your phone can be your best friend. You can have a phone book, you can have a phone audiobook, you can have something on the Bluetooth. Just be careful if you're reading something spicy and the pickup line, there's something happening there. But it doesn't matter. Put your AirPods on and it doesn't matter. Live your best life possible.
Yes. I do earbuds in the car as well. I'm just saying.
My biggest tip is to always mood read. Like, don't force yourself. Like, learn to DNF a book. If something is not working, just prevent going into that slump. Just drop it. Drop it and pick something else up. There are too many books out there for you to be suffering through something that is not something you're really enjoying. Just stop reading it.
Yeah. Listen, life is too short and there are too many books out there. I mean, geez, spend your time reading something you actually want to read, so that should be the focus. Okay, so here's the thing. I just shared some tips to help you all read, but guess what? If you have reading goals, whether it's a challenge, Romanceopolis coming up later, so stay tuned, you're going to need to track your reading. So Laura is going to be sharing with us about these reading tracking apps, because I don't know about you. I get confused sometimes and check out, but she did the hard work for us, okay? So she's going to let us know all the things.
So first things first, I want to talk about the Kindle reading streak. So if you're a Kindle reader, ebook reader of some sort, if you read on Kindle, the app, they'll actually track your reading if you read a book a day. So they'll track how many weeks you have read, and it keeps a streak of times and days. The trick is you have to read for 15 minutes a day for that day to count. That's what it is. It's 15 minutes. It's not hours. It's not like the whole day, just 15 minutes. And then you get that day, you get that gold star. So if you're one of those people who needs gold stars to I'm reading at 15 minutes, you can do this. And you can do it on your phone, you can do it on your Kindle, you can do it on your computer, as long as you use the Kindle app. So that's the first one. So I want to talk about reading trackers and reading goals. A lot of times, if you're a reader, if you have familiar with Goodreads, they set a goal of how many books you're going to read, and you're competing with your friends. You share your goals, you share the books you read. Goodreads is the most popular. It's been around for a long time. It's not an intuitive app. It hasn't been updated since 2012, since it started. So it has its issues, but there's some stuff that is a tried and true. So Goodreads connects to your Kindle, connects to Amazon. So it does have the information because Goodreads is owned by Amazon. So there is that. There's the social aspect of it. There's like a feed where you can find out what your friends are reading. If you have friends who are reading Kindle on Goodreads, you can find out what they're reading. You can hear some reviews. So you get some ideas of some new anticipated books. So Goodreads is this, it's one that's been around for the longest. It's easy to set up a goal. You can set up a goal for one book if you don't want to have like a stressful year, and you can just accomplish that whenever you do. And every time you accomplish reading more books, it'll be like you accomplished 1,000% more of your goal. So that's the trick. Just do one book. That's it. You can do 50. You can always change it if you realize that you're like, it tells you it's behind and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. You can change your goal at any time. So just doesn't matter. And reading goals are arbitrary. You make the rules. Nobody's going to compete. This is not a competition. This is not, some reading years are great. Some readers are not. And that's okay. Just be okay with that. Again, let it go. We're going with the flow. All right. So if you're looking for a Goodreads alternative, because this is the time of year we're like, okay, we don't want to support Amazon and Goodreads is so old, it doesn't have all the capabilities that we're looking for. There's a couple alternatives that I want to share. The first one is Storygraph, which is a well-known alternative to Goodreads. It is owned by a Black creator who has been doing a lot of the coding and a lot of the work. and has been listening to the people who are asking for the different needs. So it meets what Goodreads doesn't meet the needs. So there's a lot of stats, there's a lot of like tagging, shelving, reading challenges, buddy reading. There's actually a pause button if you're DNFing a book, but you're not really DNFing a book. You just want to put it on pause. I'm known to put things on pause. This actually has those features. It might be slagging right now because there's a lot of people coming to Storygraph on January 1st. So bear with it. Just give it a try. Try it around. My suggestion is do not export your Goodreads stuff. Start from scratch. Start from the beginning. Don't worry, it's a new year. Just start from the beginning. Don't try to export because the data is just like doesn't mesh well, and you might have to go back and clean the data. And if you're like me, who has like 2,000 books in the red list, that's a lot of data that I don't want to clean up. So start from scratch. Just go with it. If you're like a stats person, if you just want to track your stats, this is a reading tracker for you. If you want a little bit of social aspect, which is what I actually like about Goodreads, I do like to find out what my friends are reading. I'm nosy as that, so I just like go back and be like, oh, you're reading this, or you thought of this. Fable actually has that feature. It is more like a social media aspect of it. It has like a feed where you have content, you have like recommendations. They do have some stats. It's pretty stats. They do have a nice little calendar that tells you like when you're reading different things. When you read certain books on certain days. So it has like the cover. It's a really pretty calendar. The only problem with Fable is that search fund is not as intuitive. And so adding a book to read that you're currently reading, tracking when you're currently reading, you have to do that manual labor, and it's not as intuitive as other trackers, as even Goodreads. When Goodreads connected to your Kindle, they'll just tell you, like, they already put it on you're currently reading the book. So if you're looking for more social and you don't want to use Goodreads, I would say Fable. If you're looking for the stats heavy and buddy reads and reading challenges, I would say Storygraph is for you. If you do not want to have this, and you're a data geek like myself, I love data. I actually had created my own Airtable, but good news is that Francesca is offering an Airtable reading tracker. So Airtable is similar to, it's a better version of Excel. It's prettier version of Excel. It has options to do Kanban. It has options to do calendar view. You can connect to, if you want to connect your Airtable calendar view to your Google Calendar, so you can see like, I read these books on my Google Calendar. Airtable allows you to have the synchronicity. I've been tracking Airtable for a couple of years. My suggestion, if you're doing this, is to track the same day or the day after. Don't wait till like a couple weeks later and like, I need to backtrack the data. Like, you have to track the data the same day. Airtable makes it easy to do it like a form, but just ask just enough data that you want to have. Don't go crazy asking a bunch of data that you have to dig around and say like, oh, I need to get the cover, or I need to get how many pages, I need to do this. Just get the data that you're actually curious about and just track that data. Track it the day off or the day after. It's similar to a Google form. You can just fill it in and it'll just keep track it. And then at the end of the year, you can do pivot tables, you can do graphs, you can do charts. Francesca has a video. And so to get Francesca's Airtable tracker, you can just join her Substack. And then after you join her Substack, you should just join both of our Build Lifestyle and What to Read Next Substack, because we're recommending each other. So it's a great place. You'll get plenty of recommendations, but those are some of the trackers that are useful. Francesca's going to talk about Notion, which is another tracker. If you're like and actually want to do a digital reading journal, that's an option, or you bullet journaling, you want to write and make a journal and scrapbooking, that's all the options you can do. So have a fun way to look back at that year of what you read and think about, like, jot down the feelings, jot down what do you experience, what do you like about this book. You don't have to be a book reviewer. You don't have to read this book and say, like, I need to tell the world. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you want to be mad about it and you can share it to the world, but sometimes you just want to be mad about it and you don't want to tell the world. There's plenty of opportunities, but there are some reading trackers that are social. There are apps doing. There's like your personal reading challenge, which you can do on Airtable. You can do Google Sheets. Etsy has a couple of reading trackers, Google Sheets, if you're like a Google Sheet Excel person. Or you can just do a digital journal or bullet journal, like an actual physical journal. And those are my recommendations.
Yay!
love
Hello.
that. I have to say, I'm the physical journal girly because sometimes I get so overwhelmed with online stuff. So I jot down the thoughts and the feelings, and I keep a index card. So I have a bunch of index cards, sticky notes. I'm that gal. And as I'm reading, I'll write stuff and I'll use it as a bookmark too, but it's actually keeping notes.
Mhm.
But I read lots of physical books, so that works for me too. I'm also a spreadsheet, just old school spreadsheet girl, which helps me with content. But yeah, I think the most important thing is I think people should just go with whatever feels good to them. Sometimes you want to share your reading publicly, sometimes I don't. So yeah, whatever works for you. All right, so Fran is going to share more about Notion next.
Yeah, actually, before I get into Notion, I have to say one app that I would add to Laura's is Bookly. I love using Bookly because you can also do reading sessions and it will give you like a little bit of a background sound. So you can choose like the ocean or this or that, and it's tracking the sessions. So it's tracking also your reading as you're doing it. So it's really fun and easy. And then you can take a picture of like a quote or something as you're reading, as you're in the session, and it will automatically transcribe that text and keep the highlight inside of the app under the book. So just another app that I think it's also really fun. I think of all the apps that I've tried, that's probably the one that I like the best. I just don't love the fact that you can't access the data from a desktop. It's app only. But yeah, I just wanted to mention, plug that one in. But yeah, you can definitely also get that free Airtable reading tracker and book inventory. So there's a couple of options in there. Just by joining the free Substack, you don't have to pay. That's available for free. And as soon as you join, it will just automatically come to your email. So yeah, Airtable, I used it for so many years. Really love it. And it's also, like Laura said, just track what you want. And on the actual paper journals, I will actually have a video coming up kind of going through my old reading journals because I used to do that tracking on paper a lot. So stay tuned to the channel for that as well. And so the first thing that I wanted to talk about is tracking your reading in Notion. So I am a bit of a Notion geek and I do have a couple of templates. I have a more basic template than the one I'm going to talk about here. So if you are just starting out, there is a more basic Notion reading tracker that I have for sale. And the one I'm talking about now is when you're ready to step it up a notch. So when you really want to like make sure you know everything that you own, because you sometimes go to the store and you're looking to buy something, but you end up coming home and you already have that book and maybe you've bought it 2 times. It's happened to me. So I'm going to give you guys a quick view of what that Notion tracker looks like. And so this is basically your front view. You can make sure you have like you're currently reading books, books that you've bought. It will track your books read for the year. You can do challenges. It will also track finances. So if you're somebody that is looking at not spending too much money, you can make sure you're keeping track of that. So whatever challenges you want to have, I have a 2024 reading goal challenge. I have the Romance Happily. So there's some things that I wasn't using on there. But what I wanted to show you is it will also track the authors that you have. So it's going to tell you who's your most read author from everything that you have inside of the Notion tracker. It will also do an author check-in. If you have something that you have on your inventory that you own it, but you haven't read it, it will give you what are the oldest things that you have in your inventory that you haven't read. So it might be a good opportunity for you to maybe go in and pick that up. And it will tally up all of the years and how many books you've read by each author. So it's going to give you those stats automatically as you enter information. Then it's also going to look at finances. So it's going to tell you what are your expenses in terms of books. You'll be able to see that in yearly information as well as monthly. So as it will also track how much you're spending on subscriptions. So you can track all of your book finances. If you have any upcoming pre-orders, you can log them in, so that way it will remind you when something is going to get charged. And then you also have genres. So it's going to tell you a lot of information as you're entering, which ones, how many books you own, how many books you've borrowed, or how many you still have to read. So if you're in the mood for reading, say, a cozy mystery, you can come in here, go into the cozy mystery, and see which books you have that are cozy mysteries. It will also track books that you have on your want to read list. So you can enter them in here when there's something that you really, really want to read. You can enter it in here as something you want or as a recommendation that somebody gave you. And it will show up on here on the genre page to tell you, okay, you have this thing that somebody recommended. It might be worthwhile. Like I said, you also can track goals. And then you have your actual library of all the books that you have. And as you enter books in, you can also enter different editions. So, for example, you're looking at a book, it will tell you that you own it or you borrowed it, and in how many editions you actually have, or how many versions of the book. So, like audio, paperback, ebook, or maybe you have a special edition. You can track your signed books and all of that stuff. You can plan your TBR. So, it's really simple to plan a TBR. You have your list of books. You can search here and simply assign it to a month. And then you have your TBR built up for that month. And it will show you at the very top over here what is your TBR for the month. So, it's an easy way for you to do that. And you can also track just how you can track the authors, you can track the series. So, for example, it will give you a reminder of a series that maybe you own something, but you haven't read in a while. So, this will give you, again, like a little check in for you to kind of get to read the things that linger on your TBR. And then you also have a tropes database, which you can use or not use depending on how much you want to track. But I find it really useful, especially if I'm adding books that I own and I haven't read, so that when I'm in the mood for something, or even if I have read them, but I am looking for a recommendation to give to somebody, I can come in here and kind of look at the books that I have entered that fit that particular description. And then you also have some more stats. You do have a set here of how many books you've read for the month, and also the whole year you'll also be able to see. So this is current month, this is the year, and you will be able to see all of the books that you've read for the year inside of the system. So I wanted to show you what the inside of one card for a book looks like. So in their case, I entered actually information from a previous times that I've read this book. I've read it 3 times, and it actually gives me all of that information here. So it's telling me I own 4 entries in different formats. I have 4 copies in inventory. That means I still own all of them. And 2 of them are signed, read it 3 times. The last time I read it, how many notes I've saved. So you can save like your quotes or your reviews or anything like that. How much money I've spent on this book, and of course, like an average rating as well. So, and you can also upload pictures. So if it is a signed book, or if you want to keep like the actual photo of what that physical copy looks like, you can upload it here. I have all of the reading logs for all 3 times that I've read it. So if I want to keep separate notes and separate ratings, every time that I read it, I can have that here, and I can see here the pictures that I uploaded with my notes. So lots of stuff that you can do on here. Like I said, it's more of a more in-depth tracker, but it will give you a lot of information when it comes to what you want to track with your reading. So I do have one that's kind of like the baby version of this one, if this one feels a little bit more intimidating, but I have a ton of fun with that. And personally, I am more of the person that doesn't really like anymore to track my reading publicly. So the less information I give publicly, for me, the better. However, if I am still using this year, I still used this year. Last year, I still used Storygraph, which I really love for all the stats that Laura was talking about. But I'm probably going to move to strictly just tracking inside of my Notion for 2025, just because of that aspect. I want to kind of distance that from that information being public. So that is as far as tracking. And as far as Notion, I do think that you need to give Notion a try. Even if it feels a little bit intimidating with a template, it's really easy to get started because all of that heavier work is done for you. And when you do get that template, it does come with video tutorials for every page and every step along the way. So you'll be able to kind of get somebody to hold your hand on what you need to do with all of them. So then the other thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is Romanceopoly. So if you're looking for a fun reading challenge to do in 2025, we've been doing Romanceopoly for several years, and it is basically gamifying your reading for the whole year. It is a year-long challenge, so you start now and you have all the way through the end of December to complete it. There are 20 basically core prompts. So it's 20 books for you to complete the challenge. And on top of that, there's additional things that you can do. So if you want to do more than those 20, there are more options available to you as you go through. And it is designed as a game board. And you're moving through this game board with through different towns. They're seasonally themed. And each one of these little steps that you see on the board will have a prompt for you to pick a book and read. And every single season also has a kind of a seasonal event. So those are week-long events. Those are entirely optional. You can join or not. Or if you feel intimidated and don't want to do the board at all, you can still join those seasonal events. And we'll be talking about our first one for winter as February approaches. So I'm excited to also share that. But basically, yeah, it's all about reading through all of these seasonal towns and kind of getting a reading experience that matches the vibe that you would want for those seasons, and feeling like you're kind of like playing a game along the way. You can also, as you complete the prompts, as you read and complete the prompts, you can actually win a paid membership to our Under the Covers paid Substack. So if you read the prompts, there's a schedule on how you qualify and how you claim your price, and then you will be able to get access to the paid features on our Substack. So that is how Romanceopoly will work for 2025. I can't wait to get started, and I can't wait for you guys to really have fun with your reading this year. I think that's the most important thing. Whenever you are getting a little bit intimidated about reading, just have fun with it. That's my biggest message.
Yes, I agree. Have fun with it, everyone. And again, do what works for you, because, yes, what works for other people might not be for you. But yeah, so I hope you guys benefited from some of the resources we shared with you today. Okay, so how to help you read more, the different apps, go back and listen if you might have forgotten something or you just want clarity on an app. Also, feel free to hop in the comments, okay? Let us know in the comments, replay crew, if you're watching live, even though this is pre-recorded. But let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. We'll respond as well. Okay, so I do want to share with you, and see, now I want to share it with you. I don't know where it went, is our upcoming calendar, okay? So I'm really excited to share what we have planned for the year. I think I said in a previous video that we planned the entire Novel Nights calendar for the whole year. So I hope this is the right graphic. But yes, it is here. It is here. Okay. So next week we are back live, because like I said, this is pre-recorded, but we are back live next week to share book series that you can hibernate with. So these are complete series, right? So you don't have to wait on the next book in the series or so on. These are all completed series, so you can get all of them and just go hibernate this winter. Then we'll share some books with winter settings. Then the following week, we'll get into some magical realism. I feel like all these themes are just very in line with the season of winter. So if you're a seasonal reader, you're going to be having lots of fun here at Novel Nights. So stay tuned. Again, we have lots to look forward to. All right. I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else for us to share. I hope you all have a good week. Great start to the year, and we'll see you all soon.